Welcome back to Wired to Be Rich, everybody. I took a little break last week. I know y'all missed me. I missed you too. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another week. We are still going strong, you guys. And as some of you know, this is the podcast where we talk about wealth, mindset, relationships, and the internal shifts that completely change the trajectory of your life. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, you already know how we have the kind of conversations that hit a little bit too close to home sometimes, but in the best way possible. Today, we're talking about something that ruins relationships just as much as financial stress, and honestly, sometimes even more. And that is a lack of confidence, you guys. Because when you don't feel secure within yourself, everything gets distorted. You accept behavior that should have disqualified someone on day one. You overanalyze innocent situations. You create problems that don't even exist. You assume other people see you the way that you secretly see yourself. And because your inner world feels shaky, your relationships start to feel shaky too. That's the thing about insecurity, you guys. It doesn't just affect how you feel about yourself. It affects how you interpret everything. A delayed text becomes rejection. Constructive feedback feels like criticism. A partner needing space feels like abandonment, and before you know it, you're reacting to stories in your head instead of what's actually happening in real life. And on top of that, when emotions are running the show, you start seeing people for who you want them to be rather than who they've consistently shown themselves to be. You fall in love with potential and projections of realities of themselves that don't even exist. You ignore patterns. You excuse red flags. And then one day you're heartbroken over someone who was waving warning signs the entire time, you guys. So in today's episode, we're going to be getting right into how low self-esteem sabotages relationships, how emotional decision-making keeps people stuck, and why seeing reality clearly is one of the most powerful things you can do for your love life and your peace of mind. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
She's not just a podcast host. She's a movement.
Manda is teaching people how to break cycles and build real wealth, mentally, financially, and spiritually.
People all over the world are waking up to her message.
Wired to Be Rich isn't just a podcast. It's a mindset shift.
She makes you believe again in yourself, in your power, and your ability to actually have the life you always known was meant for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Manda Lee, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Balance and Destiny, and this is Wired to Be Rich. One of the most subtle but expensive consequences, you guys, of low self-confidence is that it causes you to accept things you already know are not aligned with what you truly want. This shows up everywhere, not just in relationships. It shows up in your career, your friendships, your finances, and virtually every decision you make. Think about how many people accept jobs they know deep down are not a good fit. They read the reviews on Glassdoor. They notice the high turnover. They sense during the interview that leadership seems disorganized, and they already know the compensation is lower than what they were hoping for. Yet, they still say yes because a part of them does not fully believe they can do better. In the moment, getting the offer feels validating. It feels like proof that someone chose them. And that temporary relief overrides the very real concerns they had from the beginning. Then a year later, they're burnt out, underpaid, and resentful, wondering why they ignored their own intuition. The same dynamic plays out in relationships all the time. Someone expresses interest in you, and instead of objectively asking whether this person is emotionally available, aligned with your values, and capable of building the life you want, you become consumed by the excitement of being chosen. That excitement can feel intoxicating, you guys, especially if a part of you has been craving external validation. When you are operating from a wound, the relationship starts to feel less about connection and more about achievements and a relief of something that you want to feel within yourself, right? You feel like if you can get this person to commit to you, then it somehow confirms that you are worthy, lovable, and enough. But that mindset is incredibly dangerous because it shifts your focus away from what actually matters. The purpose of dating is not to secure someone as quickly as possible so you can feel better about yourself or alleviate some kind of stress in your life, right? The purpose is to determine whether another person is genuinely compatible with you and whether their character, values, and vision for life aligns with your own. Real love is not about proving your worth. And I know a lot of us listening, we have dealt with people that made us feel like we had to constantly prove ourselves, right? But real love is about finding someone who sees you clearly, understands you deeply, and contributes to your peace rather than your confusion. When you lack confidence, you are more likely to tolerate behavior that should have disqualified someone on day one because you are so focused on preserving the possibility of being chosen. You rationalize mixed signals, excuse inconsistency, and, cling to potential because the relationship feels like it represents something much larger than the person standing in front of you. But confidence changes all of this, you guys. When you genuinely trust your own value, you stop approaching relationships and opportunities from a place of scarcity. You no longer think, I hope they pick me. Instead, you ask, is this truly aligned with the life that I'm building? You stop settling for jobs that drain you, relationships that confuse you, and situations that require you to shrink yourself just to keep them. You recognize that being chosen by the wrong person or accepting the wrong opportunity is not a win. The real win is having enough self-respect to walk away from anything that does not meet the standard you know you deserve. And once you begin accepting things that are beneath you, the next consequence of low confidence is that it starts to distort the way that you interpret your own reality. This is where insecurity becomes particularly destructive because it does not just influence the decisions you make on the front end, it changes how you process the behavior of the people around you. For instance, when you do not feel secure within yourself, you begin assuming that others see you through the same critical lens that you view yourself, like I mentioned earlier, right? If you secretly feel inadequate, you may convince yourself that your partner is losing interest. If you feel unattractive, you start reading into small changes in their mood or behavior and interpreting them as signs that they no longer want you or are no longer intrigued by you. If you struggle with self-worth, even neutral situations can feel emotionally charged because your mind is constantly searching for evidence that confirms your deepest fears. This is how people end up creating problems that never existed in the first place. A delayed response to a text becomes a story about rejection. A partner having a stressful day becomes evidence that something is wrong in their relationship, right? A harmless interaction with another person suddenly feels threatening. None of those reactions are necessarily rooted in what's actually happening. Instead, they are rooted in the meaning that your mind assigns to what is happening. And when that meaning is filtered through insecurity, even ordinary moments can feel like a crisis. What makes this so damaging is that your reactions often create the very tension that you were afraid of. You begin asking for reassurance, overanalyzing every interaction, approaching the relationship from a defensive posture. Your partner may feel confused because they're being asked to respond to concerns that exist more in your own imagination than in actual reality. This is a kind of example to where you see a couple arguing, like, I hate to say this, but the Met Gala, if y'all watched the red carpet event, we all saw ASAP and Rihanna arguing, right? ASAP was talking to a woman, but there has been no kind of cheating allegations. We don't know what goes on in their personal relationship, but we also don't think that there's any kind of cheating going on. But because Rihanna, it seems like she may be a little insecure in how she looks because she has had children. She's a woman that has given birth to a beautiful life. So, of course, her body has changed. And I'm not projecting anything on their situation because I don't know what goes on. But I take that scenario and let's apply it to a imaginative one. Let's say you're a woman or you're a man and you've kind of gained weight or lost stride in your career, whatever the case, and your partner's exceeding beyond measure. Naturally, it'll cause an imbalance. And if you are not secure within yourself, then you're going to project all those insecurities onto your partner and then make them fix what you feel about yourself. At that point, over time, this can create emotional exhaustion for both people involved, right? Their relationship becomes less about connection and more about managing anxiety now. And nothing's fun about anxiety, because if you know, you know. The same pattern shows up outside of romance as well. In the workplace, someone who doubts their abilities may assume that they are under constant scrutiny, even when their performance is strong. I get that a lot now, still to this day, and I'm an excellent everything. Or they may avoid speaking up or even hesitate to pursue promotions. I just thought about that. Or maybe they second guess every decision they make because they are projecting their own self criticism onto their colleagues and leadership. In friendships, insecurity can cause you to misinterpret a friend's busyness as a rejection or distance. That's why it's so important to date people who are confident and have friends that have their own sense of identity, you guys. I'm so for real. I done been there, done that. And it's not fun because you're constantly having to manage someone else's interpretation of your actions and your words and feelings of that stuff that's not even real. It's just things that they feel about themselves and they're projecting it onto you. In every context, the common denominator is the same though. When you do not trust your own worth, it becomes difficult to trust the intentions of others. I remember I was on a date one time with an ex from years and years, like almost a decade ago at this point, and we had not talked in a while, and we kind of had reconnected some years ago and went to just go get some wings. And I remember him telling me, he was like, he's like, I'm always afraid to eat wings in front of people because I'm afraid they're going to judge me and like they're watching me eat. And I was like, do you judge people and watch when people eat? And he was like, yeah, I do. And he laughed. And I was like, well, that's why you think they're doing the same thing to you, because you do it. They may not actually be paying you any attention or even care about who you are. But because you do it, you're assuming that other people do it too. Change how you react to the world and the world would change how it reacts to you. Yeah. So like I was saying, in every context, the denominator is the same, you guys. But this is exactly why I am incredibly intentional about the people that I allow into my life. The people I date need to be confident. I need a confident man. I need a confident man. I say confident, I mean not cocky, not arrogant. I said confidence, humbly confidence. Okay? Please. My friends need to be confident. I need women that know their worth and know who they are and don't need to ask anyone anything because they know where they're going in life. I need people around me who know who they are, who can make decisions without needing constant validation, and who are able to walk into any room with a quiet sense of self-assurance like they own a place. I need to be with a man or need to be around friends. And I honestly thank God I don't have the man yet, but I do have a selection of women that I consider my friends who are all beautiful and are all very confident. It took me a while to get here, okay? And of course, things ebb and flow depending on the time of the month or whatever the issue is or whatever's going on in life. But for the most part, my friends are confident and they can walk in any room and know that they are that girl, period. Not because they're arrogant, like I said, but because they are grounded in who they are. They know their value and they are not looking to me to constantly convince them of it, right? Because I got my own life I'm trying to figure out. Because when someone lacks confidence, it eventually spills over into their relationship. An insecure friend may assume that you are comparing yourself to them when you are not thinking that way at all. They may interpret your encouragement as criticism or view your success as a threat. An insecure partner may begin resenting you, believing that you are better than they are, and projecting their internal struggles onto the relationship. What starts as self-doubt can slowly turn into jealousy, defensiveness, and emotional distance. This is why it is so important to build a strong sense of identity and to align yourself with people who have done the same. You have to know who you are. You need to know who you are and what you value and what you are willing to tolerate. You need to be disciplined enough to say no to what is misaligned and secure enough to let people walk away if your boundaries make them uncomfortable. Let them go. For real. F them. If someone gets upset because you are honoring yourself, that is not your problem. Who cares? Let them go. Not everyone is meant to go with you, and that is perfectly okay. Because there's a world of people waiting to experience you and truly value the input and the rawness of who you really are. Confidence is not just about feeling attractive or being charismatic. It is about having enough self-respect to trust your own judgment and enough emotional maturity to allow people to be responsible for theirs. When you cultivate that within yourself and surround yourself with others who do the same, your relationships become dramatically healthier, calmer, and more fulfilling. And honestly, once you experience that kind of peace, you realize there's no reason to settle for anything less, like ever. One of the most common ways that people end up stuck in the wrong relationships or career is by confusing possibility for potential with reality. A lot of men and women have this issue, but women, we have it really, really bad, right? Because women are delusional. We will see a man will show us exactly who he is, but because women are long-term thinkers, we see where that man could take us and we stay with him based off that. But what if that man never gets there? Men do the same too. Men will find a woman and think that he can mold her into being whatever version of female that he wants her to be for him. But that's not who she is. And instead of just going to go find someone that's actually aligned with you, you try to force change onto someone that's not willing to change for you. This tends to happen when someone shows just enough promising qualities to spark the imagination. Maybe they're intelligent, charismatic, ambitious, emotionally expressive in moments, or they say all the right things about what they want for their future. On paper, they seem like they could become an incredible partner, right? And that could, quote unquote, could, is where a lot of people get trapped. The mind has a remarkable ability to fill in the blanks. When we meet someone who appears to have potential, we often begin mentally constructing the version of them we hope to experience long term. We imagine what they will be like once they heal from their past, become more disciplined, gain emotional maturity, get their finances together, or finally decide to commit. We begin relating not only to the person standing in front of us, but also to the idealized version of who we believe they are capable of becoming. The problem is that potential is theoretical. It is not something you can build a stable relationship on because it does not exist in the present. Character exists in the present, you guys. Habits, those exist in the present. Integrity, consistency, emotional availability, and the ability to communicate all exist in the present. Those are things that determine whether a relationship can actually work. The future version of someone you have imagined in your mind may be inspiring, but it is still a projection. So now you're the one projecting onto them. This is where emotional attachment can cloud judgment, you guys. Once you become invested in the story of what a relationship could become, it becomes tempting to overlook what is actually happening right now. You tell yourself that the inconsistency is temporary, that the lack of commitment is just a phase, or that they will eventually grow into the partner that you envision them to be, when in reality, you may be spending valuable time waiting for someone to become a person they have not demonstrated any real commitment to becoming, ever. This dynamic does not only show up in dating, it appears in business relationships, friendships, and career choices. People often hold on to opportunities because they are captivated by what they imagine is possible rather than evaluating what is actually being delivered. The idea of what something could become can be so compelling that it keeps you invested long after the current reality has made it clear that the situation is not aligned. Maturity requires the ability to separate hope from evidence. It is perfectly reasonable, you guys, to appreciate someone's potential, but your decision should be based on who they are today, not who they could be, but today. If they become more evolved in the future, that may benefit someone else, or perhaps even you if your paths choose to cross again. But your present choices should be grounded in what is real and observable now. So, when you start evaluating people based on their current behavior instead of the imagined future with them, your standards become clearer and your decisions become much healthier. You stop wasting time trying to love people into readiness, and you begin choosing relationships where the qualities you need are already present, you guys. Mm, that shift saves you from a tremendous amount of disappointment and allows you to invest your energy where it has the highest probability of being reciprocated. Feelings are real, you guys, but they're not always accurate. And a couple men told me that, and I fought them on it for so many years. But you know what? As much as I hate to admit it, they had a point. Because by this point, it becomes clear that one of the most important skills a person can develop is the ability to feel their emotions without allowing those emotions to make all of their decisions. This is where a lot of people get in trouble because intense feelings can create the illusion that something is right simply because it feels powerful. But emotional intensity and long term alignment are not the same. That's why, they say no sex before marriage. Aside from a religious standpoint, intimacy too early can cloud judgment of who a person really is, you guys, because your emotions are powerful. Okay. You can feel deeply connected to someone who is inconsistent. You can miss someone who was not healthy for you. You can feel chemistry with a person who is completely incompatible with the future you want to build. You can experience anxiety when someone pulls away and mistake that anxiety for love. In reality, what you are often feeling is attachment, uncertainty, and the desire for resolution. And those feelings are very real, but they do not necessarily mean the relationship is good for you. This is why emotional maturity is so valuable. Emotional maturity allows you to pause and ask whether your feelings are reflecting reality or simply activating an old wound, something you're familiar with, and then you're calling it a soul tie. But really, it's just a feeling that your body recognizes and it likes that. Your mind and your body likes things that it knows. Maybe the person you are dealing with is genuinely not aligned, right? Or maybe they are doing something harmless that is touching on a past insecurity. Either way, the goal is to slow down long enough to distinguish between what is happening in the present and what your emotions are telling you in the moment. The same principle applies to major life decisions outside of relationships. People quit jobs in moments of frustration. I've done that before. It worked out for me, but I only did that one time in my life, okay? I probably wouldn't do it again. But yeah, or people make large purchases when they feel deprived or abandon, let's say, long-term goals because they are temporarily uncomfortable, right? Like dieting. You said in your mind you're going to diet for 3 months, but you can't fight your own craving, so you cave and you just never get back on the diet ever again. Something like that, something simple, but yeah, because they're temporarily uncomfortable. Whenever emotions become the primary driver, short-term relief tends to take priority over long-term outcomes. It's a human thing. We all do it. I don't want y'all to feel bad. We all do it. That can feel satisfying in the moment, though, but it often creates consequences that are far more painful later. Learning to regulate your emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not matter. It means honoring what you feel while recognizing that your feelings are one source of information and not the final authority. Your emotions can alert you to something important, but they should be balanced with facts, patterns, and a clear understanding of your long-term goals. When you develop this level of self-awareness, you guys, you become far less reactive. You stop chasing people simply because you miss them. You stop abandoning healthy routines because you are temporarily discouraged. You stop interpreting every emotional high or low as a signal to change direction. Instead, you make decisions that are rooted in clarity, discipline, and a deeper commitment to the life you are intentionally building. That is where real power comes from, you guys. It comes from knowing that you can experience strong emotions without allowing them to derail your standards, your peace, or your future. If a job isn't aligned with you, don't take it. If you know that you want a leadership position and your job isn't providing the growth, go where your growth is. Once you master that, you become much harder to manipulate much less likely to settle, and significantly more capable of creating relationships and opportunities that are truly aligned with who you're becoming. When you look back on most situations that ended in disappointment, there is usually a moment of uncomfortable honesty where you realize that very little of it came as a complete surprise. The truth is, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, most of us are not blindsided nearly as often as we think we are. Hello, Manda. More often, they are confronted with the consequences of ignoring what they already knew. The signs were there from the beginning, but they were minimized, rationalized, or pushed aside because acknowledging them would have required making a difficult decision much sooner. And what's fun in that, right? Right? Maybe the person was inconsistent from the start. Maybe they told you they were not ready for commitment. Maybe they lacked direction, avoided accountability, or repeatedly showed you that their words and actions did not match. Maybe your intuition kept whispering that something felt off, but you convinced yourself that if you just gave it one more time, or more time, more patience, more understanding, that things would eventually improve. How crazy is that, though, when you think about that? In many cases, the issue was not a lack of information. The issue was a reluctance to accept what the information was telling you. A snake is constantly shedding its skin, you guys. The pattern extends far beyond relationships. I keep saying that. People stay in jobs they know are draining them. They maintain friendships that feel one-sided because of history, and remain in environments that no longer align with the person they are becoming. They keep hoping that if they wait a little longer, the situation will somehow transform them into what they originally wanted it to be. Sometimes that happens, but more often, the situation remains exactly what it has consistently shown itself to be since the beginning. Okay? One of the hardest but most liberating lessons in life is realizing that clarity often arrives long before acceptance does, you guys. Your intuition picks up on patterns quickly. Your body feels when something is off. Your mind notices inconsistencies. The challenge is not receiving the information. The challenge is having enough confidence and self-respect to trust what you are seeing and act accordingly without all the information. This is why discernment is such a valuable skill. Discernment allows you to evaluate people and situations based on evidence rather than hope. It helps you separate who someone is from who you wish they were. And I get it, you guys. I'm a lover girl through and through to the bottom of my feet. I am a lover girl. Okay? But you have to understand that who you wish someone could be is not always who they are. And that version that you have said that they could be in their mind, they may reach there, but maybe not with you. And that keeps you from investing years into circumstances that were never truly aligned, right? Most importantly, it reminds you that walking away is not a failure. No. In many cases, it is the most loving and intelligent decision you can make for yourself. And as your confidence grows, you become less willing to override your own intuition. You stop treating red flags as projects to fix. You stop assuming your love, loyalty, or hard work can compensate for someone else's lack of readiness. You recognize that your time and energy are among your most valuable assets, and you become much more selective about where you invest them. I remember one time, my ex-fiance, we had just moved in together in 2020, right before COVID started. And I don't know what we were arguing about. It was so long ago, 6 years ago. But I was in the kitchen cooking and he was on the couch in the living room. And we were talking about something, arguing about something. And I looked at him and I said, I don't care what you're talking about. I can always get money back, but I can never get my time back. I don't play those games. And I said that I maybe was like 25 at the time. Yeah, 6 years ago. So it's like, I've been serious, you guys. Your time and your energy are your most valuable assets. And I think I've always known that. I don't play them games. If I rock with you, I rock with you. And I'm serious. So when you find someone or when you find yourself looking back on a relationship, a friendship, or a job that left you depleted, it is worth asking a simple question. What did I know early on that I chose not to honor? That question is not meant to shame you. It is meant to strengthen your trust in yourself because once you begin listening to what you already know, you make better decisions, protect your peace, and create a life that is far more aligned with the standards that you know you deserve. At the end of the day, you guys, the day has to end. No, okay. Seriously, at the end of the day, confidence is not just about how you look, how much money you make, or how many compliments you receive. Confidence, or as we say on this show, wealth, is about trusting your own judgment. It is about knowing who you are, what you value, and what you no longer tolerate. It is the ability to look at a relationship, a friendship, a job opportunity, or any situation in your life and ask yourself whether it is genuinely aligned with the future you are trying to create. When confidence is lacking, it becomes very easy to confuse being chosen with being valued. Like I said in a couple episodes back, it's very easy to confuse love and proximity. Okay? It looks the same, but it's not. It becomes easy to ignore red flags because the temporary excitement of attention feels better than the discomfort of walking away. It becomes easy to let emotions make decisions that your logical mind would never approve of. And before you know it, you have invested months or even years into people and situations that were never truly meant for you. But once you build a strong sense of self, everything changes, you guys. You need to stop, or you know what? You stop needing external validation to feel secure. You stop projecting your fears onto other people. You stop falling in love with potential and the whimsical reality that doesn't exist and start evaluating people based on their actions. You stop treating every emotional high as a sign that something is meant to be or that things are aligning, and you start making decisions that are grounded in facts, patterns, and long-term alignment. From an energetic and spiritual and logical sense, they all three work together. Because I'm a whimsy girl, and I'm a very spiritual one too, but we got to think. We have to think. Me and my friends will be delusional one second and then logical the next because there's balance, right? Most importantly, though, you begin to understand that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect. Not everyone is meant to come with you into the next version of your life, and that is perfectly okay. Your responsibility is not to convince people to understand your boundaries, you guys. Your responsibility is to honor them. I know y'all have heard that time and time again. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it is that the quality of your relationships will always, are y'all listening? It will always reflect the quality of the relationship you have with yourself. Hello. When you know who you are, trust what you see, and refuse to settle for what is clearly misaligned, you make better decisions across the board. And better decisions are what create a richer, healthier, and more peaceful life. Thank you so much for tuning into our To Be Rich this week. If this episode resonated with you, send it to a friend who needs the reminder that confidence is not ego. Confidence is clarity. You can connect with me on Instagram at ForbesManda_. And as always, if you have questions, podcast topic ideas, or just want to reach out, send me an email at info@balanceddestiny.com. I read all y'all's emails, you guys, and DMs. I may not always respond because sometimes y'all give me real insight and things to really think about that I have to sit with for a little bit. But I read every single last one, and I appreciate it, truly. Until next time, trust your intuition, honor your standards, and remember that the richest thing you can possess is a deep and unwavering belief in your worth. I will see y'all next week. Bye.